So thank you for being here today. And welcome to winter. The snow delayed and was on back order and arrived in cruel fashion, some would say. But it's really interesting when you are thinking about winter, if you're in another location of the world that perhaps is sunny and you're tuning in on Zoom and you're laughing up your sleeve at all of us. I want you to think about some of the things I'll be sharing with you today when it comes to winter and what we can do energetically during this time. You know, the word winter is actually an old Germanic word that means time of water. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, yeah.
Time of water. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and right now we have over 5 feet of water, right? Just like the Johnny Cash song, 5 feet and rising, right? So have you ever noticed how peaceful the world is? You know, Nancy in her beautiful intentional prayer really shared that peacefulness that is part of the new snow. And there's this hush that falls over the landscape. And it's not just your mind playing tricks on you, because the snow does make the world more quiet. And some of that quiet is, of course, due to people not being on the streets. So during that snowstorm, what do? We hunker down just like the birds do during the severe weather. And we all become more quiet during a snowstorm. And there's science behind that silence as well. That's because snow absorbs sound. You've all noticed that when there's that fresh blanket of snow that covers it, those sound waves are actually quieter because of the snow. And sound absorption is actually rated for deep snow to absorb between 50 to 90% of sound. I did not know that, did you? And the reason snow is able to absorb the sound is because it is porous. Snowflakes are 6-sided crystals, and they're filled with open spaces, and those spaces absorb sound waves, creating a quieting effect over a blanket of snow. And then as snow melts, as it's begun for us here, it loses its silencing ability because the snowflakes have changed shape and they melt, and it reduces their size of the space between those crystals. And as the temperature fluctuates in winter, that newly fallen snow freezes after the melt, right? And then what happens is it's turned to what other form?
Ice.
Ice. Which would you rather have, snow or ice?
Snow.
Exactly. So it turns to ice, and what happens when it turns to ice is it actually amplifies the nearby sounds. When ice is reflecting those sound waves, it's reflecting them and amplifying and magnifying rather than absorbing them. So that silence that falls over the world after the fresh snowfall is only temporary. And as fleeting as it is, it does offer us the opportunity for deep listening. In fact, this season of winter can encourage us to slow down and appreciate the calm and the darkness and to listen deeply. We have to, because things are canceled. Canceled. And I would encourage us during those days of snow to think in terms of this deep listening. And some of you locally may have heard something that is considered a rare phenomenon. It only happens on average 10 times a year, and that's the average for the whole of planet Earth, not just the United States. It's a thermodynamic phenomenon known as thunder snow. You got to say it with that voice, don't you?
Yeah.
Make it boom, because thunderstorm snow is that very loud, strange, very muffled boom. Did any of you hear that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. And it sounds like a large pillar of ice has fallen off the roof and destroyed something. And this boom is so loud that it scares the dog and it runs into the room with you. And the thunder snow is bizarre because in context of the heavy snowfall, because we associate thunder with rain. But it's unmistakable, this thunder snow. When you hear thunder, you have the sudden interruptive scary feeling. You may feel like a small child in the Sound of Music movie, and you're running from your bedroom to Julie Andrews for comfort and her song, My Favorite Things, to return you to calm and ease and joy. Well, here in Lilydale, we tend to get thunder snow once or sometimes twice a winter. You've heard it before if you've lived here long enough. It's a wonderful and rare phenomenon. As I said, it only happens on average 10 times a year worldwide. Scientifically speaking, this area experiences thunder snow because of the lake effect snow. It is produced by the cold air passing over the relatively warm water, which we have in plenty. And that lake effect snow likes to stop where? Here. Why? Because of that typographical barrier. No, I say error. Barrier. Freudian slip there. Barrier known as the Chautauqua Ridge, which is a very special set of irregular hills that splits this county, and it stops the snow here. Well, in a spiritual context, thunder snow often symbolizes a powerful and sudden shift in energy, signifying a time of transformation, renewal, or a call to confront inner turmoil, with the thunder representing a strong disruptive force amidst the quiet stillness of the snow, potentially indicating a breaking point. How many people felt like they reached their breaking point? Or a necessary change in one's life? Well, in Native American culture, the concept of thunder snow wouldn't have a specific term, but the phenomenon of thunder and snow would be associated with the thunderbird myth, a powerful bird-like creature whose flapping wings create thunder and the flashing eyes that produce lightning, meaning a winter storm with thunder would be seen as a particularly potent display of the thunderbird's power. The thunderbird is considered a protective spirit with the ability to control weather and events. Other interpretations of that thunder snow spiritual meaning could be breaking through barriers that we have, those personal limitations, and overcoming obstacles, signifying a new beginning in life. And in some cultures, that thunder is seen as a voice of the divine. So thunder snow could be interpreted as a sign of powerful spiritual presence or message. It can also be contrasted with that peaceful snow. That sudden loud thunder can symbolize internal conflict or a need for personal cleansing. And as a rare weather phenomenon, thunder snow can represent a significant life transition, a time of unexpected change. But ultimately, the spiritual meaning of thunder snow is most significant when considered in the context of your own life and the feeling that it evokes. And thinking about listening to the signs of the snow and the opportunity of winter brings us further into deep listening. Last night I took a small walk outside and I listened. And I heard the wind blowing through the trees and past my face. I heard the airplane flying high overhead. I heard the red, white, and blue flag posted at the Lilydale Fire Hall, squishing and clicking against its post. And I heard my boots crunching on the ice. And I took a deep breath. And I heard the inhale and exhale. And then I deeply listened. And I heard the breath of God. I felt that lift of spirit within, and the deep connection, and my footsteps changed. So yes, I've been thinking a lot about listening lately. And not just because of thunder snow, but it has amplified it. And most of us have a very high opinion of our listening skills, don't we? We have a tendency to think that we're better listeners than we are. In Shin Buddhism, there's a practice known as deep hearing, or manpo. It's a Japanese term that literally means listen to the Dharma. Manpo is more than just taking in sounds. It means deeply listening to Buddhist teachings. But think about what happens when you do something deeply. If you take a deep dive, for example, you don't stay on the surface. You go far below it, which takes effort. And you aren't just lazily floating on top of the water. You're exploring unknown territory, since you don't know exactly what you will find down below. So you have to concentrate and pay close attention, using all of your senses. And we can listen to the Dharma in many places. It can be at church while attending a service, or during a class, or reading a spiritual book. Because listening isn't limited to the things that we perceive with our ears or our physical eyes. Wherever we may practice manpo, we're deeply and actively listening to the Dharma with attention and intention. We are bringing our full awareness to the task. We set aside any preconceived ideas, judgments, personal agendas, and we listen with total receptivity. Now, I don't remember who said it, but here's a quote for you. Being listened to is so close to being loved that most people cannot tell the difference. There's so much more than hearing someone. It's listening deeply to them, to their suffering and to their joy, and not turning away. Modeling ourselves after Kuan Yin, the Buddhist goddess of compassion and mercy, we can for a little while be like the one who hears the cries of the world and does not turn away. In Hinduism, the practice of deep listening involves active listening to reveal the truth of what is being said. It is a meditative practice that involves listening without prejudice or opinion, and it's considered the foundation of true learning and communication. The Bhagavad Gita, known as the Song of the Lord, is a Hindu-Indian scripture that emphasizes the importance of listening. It was written 200 years before the birth of Jesus, and in this epic, it provides a model for deep listening that involves hearing not just words, but also emotions and needs. And in this scripture, the god Krishna demonstrates the power of listening by patiently hearing the warrior, Arjuna, without interruption. And Arjuna listens with rapt attention and benefits from Krishna's teachings. While it may begin on a battlefield, the true subject is the war within, the struggle for self-discipline and self-mastery. You see, there's this immortal part of us that the Hindus call the Atman, that pure spirit of consciousness that ever looks on the experiences of the lower self, the mind, the ego, the subtle and physical bodies, all that go to make up our relative self. But so convincing is the drama, so compelling and literally engrossing, that the Atman spirit consciousness is swept up in the spectacle and thinks that it is born, it lives and dies, feeling the pain and the pleasure that are nothing more than impulses in the field of energy that is the mind. The Bhagavad Gita is a reminder to deeply listen to many dimensions of energy simultaneously and immerse oneself in the truth of self-mastery, spiritual awakening, and entering the space where love is ever present. This is why some say that deep listening can help restore communication and create a space for peace and reconciliation. One of the many ways to practice deep listening is to try to be truly present with another person, similar to the ways that spirit is there for us. It is said that the writer Ernest Hemingway had a way of listening with such intensity that the person doing the speaking felt supremely complimented. It's a rare and profound gift to be fully present with someone, and yet it's something so few of us truly offer. Most people only half listen. Their minds already formulating their next words, distracted by their own thoughts, or zoning out entirely. Now imagine how powerful it would be if we listen more deeply and more dimensionally. If we made a commitment to be fully engaged, to hearing and understanding not just the words, but the emotions and the intentions and the energy behind them with your soul senses. Beyond listening, there's also the art of observing, of truly noticing the world around you. When you walk into a room, take a moment to soak in everything. You notice the details, the way the sunlight filters in through the windows, the color of the walls, the expressions on people's faces, these beautiful portraits on the walls of the assembly hall. The way someone is nervously tapping their foot or laughing with their eyes more than their mouth. Most of us rush through these spaces. Our minds are preoccupied and our eyes are barely registering what's in front of us. But there's magic in paying attention, in being mindful of those small details that make every moment unique. So we must think of a room as not just a physical space, but as an experience. Every room has a mood, a feeling, an energy, and it could be coziness in a room filled with laughter, the tension of a space when difficult conversations have just taken place, or the warmth of a place that holds many beautiful memories. The more we tune into these subtle feelings, the more deeply we understand our surroundings and the people in them. And what gave you that feeling? Was it the way someone's eyes lit up when they smiled? The scent of freshly brewed coffee that brought a sense of comfort? Or perhaps the distant echo of a song that stirred up a forgotten memory? Being observant and emotionally aware in this way takes practice, and it also transforms the way you move through life. You become more sensitive, more attuned, more aware. You start to notice the way a friend's voice softens when they're talking about something they love, or that slight shift in someone's tone when they're hiding something. You begin to see and feel things that others miss entirely, and that awareness leads to a richer, more connected experience with the world. It's a beautiful thing to be a person who listens with their heart, who observes deeply and feels fully. It means you're not just drifting through life, you're living in it intentionally. You're soaking in the fullness of each moment, aware of the beauty and the complexity around you. It means you understand people better because you've made the effort to see and hear them and to pick up the nuances of their being, their very soul. It means you're the kind of person whose presence feels calming because people know you're truly there with them. So when you're in a conversation with a person or your own soul, or having a conversation with nature or the cosmos, let yourself be present fully. When you walk into a room, slow down and really see it, observe the details, and feel the deep, complete energetics of your soul. You know, at the very beginning of today's lecture, I mentioned that the word winter comes from an old Germanic word that means time of water. Many of you are familiar with the energetic principles first shared by a Japanese scientist, Masaru Emoto, and he found that water's physical structure could be changed by the emotional energies and vibrations. His experiments involved exposing water to various words, pictures, and music, right? Freezing them. Notice that? Freezing them. And then examining the ice crystals with a microscope. And in his book, Hidden Messages in Water, he demonstrated that water, exposed to positive thoughts and speech, would create visually appealing ice crystals, while negative intentions would create ugly formations. Water is deeply listening. So think about the snow around you today. Think of the water around you today. If the snow around your house or the water near your home were to be looked at using the same methods as Dr. Emoto's experiments, what would we find? Deep thoughts. And that leads us full circle again, because as science knows, ice can actually amplify nearby sounds because ice reflects sound waves rather than absorbing them. So we're essentially in a crystal bowl of resonance. Are you thunderstruck yet? Boom. That word crystal comes from the ancient Greek word kristallos, which means both ice and rock crystal. The early Greeks believed quartz crystals were ice that had frozen so hard that it wouldn't melt. Now, obviously, quartz crystals exhibit a much more pronounced and consistent resonance frequency due to their unique crystalline structure. The sound from the crystal bowl can encourage brain waves that help you feel relaxed, and that's known as entrainment, and it stimulates those brain waves through sound. The vibrations from the bowl resonate with and influence the vibrations of cells in the body, which may aid in cellular repair and rejuvenation. And the vibratory force can lead to altered states of consciousness. It makes you want to be in Lilydale in this crystal bowl during the winter, doesn't it? It's a whole new spin on how we can perceive what could very well be our own fortress of solitude. Do you remember those Superman movies with Christopher Reeve? When he wasn't being Clark Kent in Metropolis, he would go to his fortress of solitude and notice that it was not named the Fortress of Loneliness, the Fortress of Solitude. And that was located where? In a frozen tundra. And it was Superman's ice retreat. And it was a construction of crystals in the snow, in the ice. And it was the place where Superman first learned about his true identity, his heritage, and his purpose on Earth. It was there that he could deeply listen and take in wisdom and truth so that he could radiate it outward and amplify good in the world. There's a reason why Superman is an iconic image. Many reasons. He's known for his strong moral compass, always choosing the right path, even when faced with difficult decisions, being of selfless service, and inspiring people to strive for betterment. In effect, we have our own fortress of solitude here in Lilydale. It's built a few times every winter. Imagine what we could do as individuals, as families, and as a community of healers and mediums and souls, utilizing the amplification of this time of water. As spiritualists, we know that everything we experience as material reality is born in an invisible realm beyond space and time, a realm that consists of energy and information. And many of us seek to understand that infinite intelligence directly and to gain greater awareness of the quantum domain, which is that transition zone where energy turns into matter, and the virtual domain, which is that place beyond time and space, the origin of the universe. As mediums and healers, we seek to listen to spirit communicators, the angels, our clients, the divine connection, and the healing love of our own souls. After all, as Susan McHenry wrote in A Thousand Ways to Listen, deep listening is more than hearing with our hearts. I'm sorry, let me start again. Deep listening is more than hearing with our ears, but taking in what is revealed at any given moment with our body, our being, our heart. And it's no mistake that during winter we embrace Christmas carols, the light, the renewal, and we wish to reflect that back to others. So let us deeply listen this winter, in this time of water. Listen for the thunderbird and the messages of the divine and the winds of transformation. Open for resonance and healing, shining at the heart of all things. Let us radiate the vibration of light in our crystal bowl we call home. And be aware of amplifying the truth and light of spiritualism. Blessings to all.